and welcome to CEO Insights. I'm Marilyn de Guzman with Investing News Network. We're at PDAC in Toronto, and we're sitting down with Charles FitzRoy, CEO of Bradda Head Lithium, to share his insights on the ongoing efforts to create a domestic supply of lithium. Welcome, Charles.
Thank you. Well, nice to be here.
Good to have you. So let's start off our conversation with sort of providing an overview of the company and bringing us up to date on some of your priority projects.
Yes, so Bradda Head is a UK, a US, and now TSXV listed lithium explorer and developer with assets in Arizona and Nevada. Very well funded. We've got just at the end of December, we had just under 10 million US in the bank. We've got lithium clay, lithium pegmatites, and lithium brine projects. So all three types of projects, which sets us aside, I think, from some of our peers in the lithium market, and also all of them in Arizona and Nevada.
That's interesting. So we're talking about lithium, and I guess one of the things that we talk about when we talk about lithium is like sort of this widening gap between supply and demand, and how the industry is going to keep up with that. Could you share your thoughts on how the supply response has been, and where do you see that going?
Yeah, well, the supply response has been slightly different now than the last time we had a spike in lithium prices back in 2018, 2019, where the supply response was met with extra production from the Australian pegmatites. It's been slightly different now because of the demand profile is dramatically different than it was a few years ago. The demand coming through is much greater because we now have a situation whereby EV penetration is a lot greater. And that's the important thing to note. We've had some price correction recently due to extra supply coming on board, but we might see a bit more price correction, but the price where it is now is still a phenomenal price. It's still very, very high. And right now where we're at, a lot of projects are making a lot of money. And so we might see a bit of correction, but I think for the long term, we've still got a huge amount of demand coming through, which is just increasing. Mm-hmm. And the supply, that is just not there. And I think most analysts are predicting supply shortfall coming over the next few years.
Yeah. So with governments of the US, Canada and the US, they're sort of doing their own thing in terms of strengthening the development of more domestic supply of these battery metals, including lithium. Is that sufficient? You see, coming from from the exploration side of things, do you think that we're creating enough of a good environment for this to flourish? And if not, like what else should we be doing in terms of promoting this?
Yeah, well, the US is doing a lot for funding projects which are a bit more advanced than we are, because we're quite early stage. We are pushing forwards. We've got some resources at our clay project, and we're just coming to the end of our first draw program on our pegmatites. But I was in Washington beginning of January, meeting with policymakers on these topics, and we're trying to get funding available for earlier stage projects. I think that's the key thing the US has to do to develop its supply chain, is to help fund earlier stage projects, not just projects which are shovel ready. That's the key thing, I think, because the US has a very small amount of lithium production right now. Obviously, a lot of projects are being developed, a lot of clay projects, brine projects, and also pegmatites now in the US, and that's where we fit in. We are developing our projects in the US for the US market, and we're very excited to get going, getting our projects to the market as quickly as we can.
Right. I guess another aspect to that is, once you have all this supply, is the processing side. It's like the whole value chain, right? What are you seeing in that aspect? Like, is that something that you're looking at as well from your perspective?
Well, it's very important because we have three different types of lithium, and all processed in different ways. For the clays and the brines, we would be producing an end chemical like a lithium carbonate, probably, from those brine projects. But the pegmatites, we'd be likely producing a 6% spodumene concentrate, which would then need to be further processed to get to a lithium hydroxide or similar. So we are definitely speaking to companies about where that spodumene concentrate we produce would go. And that's a vital part of the supply chain, getting those, enable people to be able to do that. And that's important for the whole supply chain.
So yeah, talk about that. So you have all the different kinds of lithium deposits, right? So how important is that, like from an investor's perspective? Like, what do you want the investors to know about the projects that you have and the opportunities for that?
Well, it's a split geological risk. Obviously, where we are now in the world, majority of supply of lithium comes from Australia, South America and China. Australia, just under half of the world's lithium comes from Australia, and that's all in the pegmatite form, which is very well understood way of mining and processing get-to-get pegmatite. Brines, again, South America, it's well understood, but it's slightly harder to scale up brines as it is to pegmatite. So our pegmatite project, which we have just started drilling last year in Arizona, called San Domingo, it's 23 square kilometers. And we're coming towards the end of that first drill program. We've had some initial results we put out to the market, and the highlight so far is 32 meters at 1.6% LITO. So it's a great result. I think last month it was top 5 result intercept in the world. So we're really excited about that. And they're really excited about the prospects from that project, because we've only just scratched the surface with this first drill program there. So we'll be doing a follow-up drill program later in the year, again helping us to really understand the district, because we do have a district potential there. It was mined back in the 40s and 50s, various named pegmatites, grade about 2.75%, which was mined back in the 40s and 50s, over 5 of this old pegmatites, sort of artisanal style, small scale mining. But it's a really exciting prospect, 23 square kilometers, and more work to come and results on that project this year.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you, this is always something that I ask when I talk to CEOs. As the CEO of Bradda Head, what's the biggest challenge that you're facing right now? Something that's keeping you up at night.
One of the things.
One of the things.
Yeah. So permitting for us, we're in the US. Permitting is one of the big things because it takes time. A lot of planning has to happen and a lot of consultation. And for us, that's definitely the slowest thing, which can slow down our operations. So we need to make sure we're out in front of that. And how have we done that? Well, we've engaged an ESG professional from early on. Adam Hawkins, our ESG officer, and he's been fantastic engaging the local stakeholders, local tribes, and the government offices, which require us to be able to file various things and get these permits in place. And we've done very well. We've got a lot of permits come through. We've drilled multiple of our claims. Our Basin project, which is our most developed clay project, we'll be starting drilling there on Basin East Extension, Basin North, which are portions of it very soon. And the key thing about the engagement is we've been engaging the local tribes and the local stakeholders. We've got a community website in place now. All these things enable us to speak to our local stakeholders to make sure they know what we're doing and they can give us feedback. So that's the key thing for us. I think it's engaging, making sure everyone's aware, understand what's going on, so there's no confusion. And that's the key thing, permitting for us. And also water conservation, again, is vital. We try and conserve water where we can. We're in Arizona. It's obviously one of the key things for us as a company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess that's it helps, or does it help? And you're being in a jurisdiction like Nevada, the U.S. In terms of permitting, so it's a little bit more. Is it easier, rather compared to other jurisdictions in other parts of the world?
Well, Arizona and Nevada are ranked 3 and 5 in the Fraser Institute's survey of mining companies in 2021. So obviously they're great jurisdictions to have mining projects, but like all the US, permitting is something which it takes time. And it's something you have to make sure you're doing everything in the right way, because there's many people involved in the process, and for us, it's a key thing for us.
That's great. So what does 2023 look like for the company?
A lot. So since we've been listed on London Stock Exchange back in July 2021, we've increased our resources at our Basin project twice. We've now drilled about 1.4 square kilometres out of the 17 square kilometres of Basin. We'll be doing further drilling this year, expanding our resource even more, because we've got an exploration target there between 1 and 6 million tonnes of LCE, lithium carbonate equivalent. So there's a lot of results going at Basin. We plan to start a PA this year too. So that's our clay project at Basin. Wiki Up, we just got some more ground. So we've got a larger project there at Wiki Up, which is another clay project. And at San Domingo is our pegmatites. We had our first drill program coming towards the end of it now. We've had initial assays out, which we've released, and we're going to release more assays when we get them. But the first results, really promising, really exciting. We just scratched the surface of the 23 square kilometres. So we're doing follow-up structural mapping program, more soil sampling to really identify more targets and better prospects, well not better, so more prospects for the year ahead. So a lot happening there at our Arizona projects.
That's great. So we're looking forward to hearing more about results of those work that you're going to be doing this year. Thank you for joining us at this time.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Thank you. And thank you for watching. Join us again next time for another engaging conversation on CEO Insights.